And what's going on, guys? Let's see. Wasn't I on Instagram? No, I am live now. Namaste and welcome, everybody. Okay, so today is Wednesday. The English Live is going to be every Wednesday at 9 a.m. And I'm very happy and excited because we are ending the 2023, the seventh universal year, which for sure we have done a lot of soul searching and going within, and we have slowed down everything. Oh, Brandon is here. Hello, Brandon. Let's see. Brandon. No, I don't want it. Uh, Brandon, can you send me a request, please? And I'm also waiting for you to come on YouTube too, to join me on YouTube. Fantastic. If I can get you on YouTube. 1 second, guys. Invite. Okay. There we go. Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, everybody. Welcome.
Sudi.
Hello, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Fantastic. I'm doing great. Brandon, did you want to join me also on YouTube or not?
You know, I can't join on YouTube. I don't have my full setup right now. I'm traveling. So.
Okay, no problem. So we'll just have you right here, and that's fantastic. And it's so great to see you. I miss you, Brandon. It's been a while. So tell us all about it. What has been happening for you in your world and your journey till now?
Oh man, where to start? It feels like lifetimes since we last spoke. Man, I mean, in short, really loving this whole world of German new medicine. I'm sure you've seen me share about it, which is really the science of the psychosomatic origin of all disease, which really just starts to prove scientifically for people that need that some of the basic principles that we've been talking about for many years. All is mind, all is consciousness, but showing how that actually the mechanics behind that and how that shows up in the body, and how there's really no exception. There's no boogeyman out there, germ out there, thing out there trying to kill us and attack us, which we could say is ego. That's what we typically, like there's the devil out there just plotting against us, and then the materialists say, the equivalent to that, if it's not in religion, if it's in science, is a germ or a virus or a something, and it's like this constant threat. Yes. That is so ingrained in the materialist point of view. So it's just been a really beautiful access point to bring people to the same place, but from a really, and they can kind of see it with their own eyes and give themselves evidence. And so it's been really fun learning more about that.
Fabulous. So where are you right now?
I'm in Half Moon Bay. Well, actually near Half Moon Bay. I'm in San Bruno, near San Francisco.
Okay, nice. Is it cold down there?
It's cold, it's rainy, it's foggy, and I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, I just got back almost 2 weeks ago from my over 2 months journey. So I went to Malaysia, to Indonesia. I always wanted to go to Bali, and I thought one day I'm going to go, one day I'm going to go. So I don't know, Brandon, I did my retreat in LA, and then I was supposed to do another retreat in Germany, but somehow I wasn't feeling it. You know how we feel things in our body? I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't know, there was something cold about it. It didn't have that warm and fuzzy feeling. So I was just thinking, should I do it? Should I not do it? And one day I woke up and I said, we're canceling the Germany retreat and I'm going to Bali. I said to myself, I'm going to go and play, and I'm going to go and take some time off and see what the other world is offering and all that. So anyhow, I end up going to Bali. I stayed there for 40 days. I was looking for the ashram, looking for lands and retreats. And as you and everybody else knows, Bali has the most um, temples and so many retreat centers and all that. So they showed me a lot of lands, they showed me a lot of retreats to buy, and it was very tempting because the prices were good, but there were lovely people. They are the loveliest people on this planet, so sweet and everything. Everybody's giving offerings to the temples and all that, and you hear this smell of rice, and they make put a little bit cigarettes, flowers is the offering that they give to their temples and stuff. So everything was nice. The prices were cheap. The only thing that it happened to be summertime there, and boy, Brandon, the weather temperature just like Florida, humid and hot, and lizards all over the place. And I was living, yeah. So anyhow, and I got forced to do a retreat there. Like few people signed up, and I couldn't get out of it. And I was this that they were like, they just signed up. They said, we don't care. We're just going to go and see her. So anyhow, I booked a place, one of those retreat centers. It was beautiful, cabin, river going by the side. And I did a 6 days retreat there. And you only have visa for 1 month. So we had to renew our visa again. And then after 40 days, I went to Turkey and I did my 2 weeks retreats in Turkey. I managed to get 100 people again in wintertime, which I was like really thrilled and surprised. So it was fantastic. And I got back and I said, now what's next? I'm just surrendering at the moment to see what's going on. And I am thinking soon, Brandon, we got to do a joint event in San Francisco or LA or somewhere. What do you think?
Well, it's funny you say that because live events have been coming back into my world, and I come most alive in person, especially in a group setting. I did from 2017 to 2020. We did like 15 different retreats and workshops in different parts of the world, and that was it's just incredible. There's just so much magic in that space. I mean, literally, you surrender, and then you watch life, God. You just watch the synchronicity happen, and every time I'm left in awe of how perfect all the people are. It's like everyone is everyone's ex or father or mother, and it just works so perfectly. And man, I'm definitely open to the collaborations, especially around events.
Yeah, that would be nice. I have to plan something for, of course, we'll be in touch to see what we can do, maybe somewhere around February or March. We see what happens. But we both have, we both shares this a lot of similar things, and the teaching of non-duality and all of that stuff. But I think somehow, like you said, when we're doing retreats or when people come together, the energy that's there is just like unbelievable. Maro said, come to Canada. She's killing me, Brandon. We got to do Canada somehow. It's too cold.
Some events in Ontario.
Yeah. So we should plan something probably for Canada. She's been after me for years now. Maybe something in like late spring, if you're okay. We do something there. I have a huge crowd in Canada too, so that would be really nice. So let's get to the topic of today, Brandon. How do you feel about the energy of 2024?
Yeah, it's interesting that was the topic, because as soon as you shared with me, it's like, oh, interesting. I've been tracking it, but not in that context. It's more like I've been just noticing patterns. I think there's something to be said is these like two phases that I like to put into words is our journey to God and our journey in God. And the journey in God is taking what we found in that space of, we could say, non-duality, and then looking at our life and going, where is it not representing that? understanding and sense that I've realized, right? And that's the infinite process. The journey to God is like, I remember Rupert Spire saying that's chapter 1 of the book, and then you have, living it. That's the challenging part. And in my process of that, whatever is not of the truth becomes so obvious. It's kind of like highlighted, and I'm just seeing these bubbles that I think are about to pop. Number one, you have the bubble around gender and the bubble around it's like the gender war, men versus women, and rights, and we need the laws to give us rights and power, and even like the transgender movement. And not that any of it's wrong or bad, it's just the pieces that are putting their freedom in a sort of law or outcome or political outcome. And to me, they're like pendulum swings. And it's like, if, let's just say as an example, if use women, for example, if women have felt oppressed by men for such a long time, it's natural to swing to the other side and to kind of constellate, to be in the shoes of the person that may have oppressed you, to then, be an oppressor, or vice versa. It's like we're all getting in these different points of view so we can integrate the whole, but we typically as humans take them to extremes. So I feel like there's these more extreme bubbles right now that are about to pop, where people are going, wait a second, even if I'm right, I'm not at peace. And so maybe it's that my salvation, my sense of living in peace and surrender isn't in a political outcome. It's not in being right. It's not in identifying with the right or wrong body. It's going beyond the materialistic, solution-oriented condition. And so I think in 2024, we're going to see a lot of these bubbles that are seeking freedom and power in the world open their minds, open their hearts, and actually have more direct experiences of, man, I've taken this. It's almost like if you take something so far that's, let's say, by its nature, concealing the truth from you, eventually you just run into a wall and you're in a corner. And you're like, well, I can't take this any further, and I have to turn around now. So I feel like we're going to see a lot of these movements have that experience of, I've pushed this so far and I'm only more miserable, because like anything we seek or anything that causes us to continue to seek, it's like how to make someone believe they're not free is to teach them how to be free. Let me give you the manual on how to be free. It's like, now you're guaranteeing this person is not going to be experience the natural freedom that they are. And so, I think a lot of these movements are about to turn around and have moments of realizing kind of more of their divine inheritance versus seeking it in the world. And I at first could, hit peaks of, oh, I have to hold on to my ego. That could be more, social unrest and more, events that are going to really wake people up. Because I think the frequency of ego shaking events is getting faster and faster. Maybe 10 years ago, once a year, there was something that kind of shook us, or once every couple of years. Now it's every month. So I think that's just going to continue to until it pops and we really start to see a lot of change.
Yeah, I feel that way. When I look at the energy, like this year, 2023, number 7, like I felt like, as we know, it was a lot of quieting down. So, like things weren't happening, and we just got kind of cornered or to be forced to go within, right? The soul discoveries. And I feel like 2024, I don't know, I might be wrong, but I'm very optimistic. I just felt like number 8, that logo of infinity. I just feel like all those people who were like thinking, I want to be awakened, I got to do something about it. I just felt like the ground is much more ready, like, because in my head is always a movie is playing, everything is movies guys in my head. And like 2027, it was kind of coldish, it was kind of wintry looking, it was all to go within, and whatever project we were touching or things, even as far as awakening, it was like obstacle, it was like not much movement, like we were moving very slow. But I feel like, I mean, even when we look at planetary, a lot of huge like planets are forward,
Yeah.
right? It's not like last year that they were in retrograde. So I
Right.
feel like when we're looking at the whole picture, 2024 is just like, ready, are you ready to jump in? And I feel people are gonna feel much lighter. And I don't know that, I mean, I was looking because I'm a Taurian, right? And I know that Jupiter, as I call it, the planet of Santa Claus, and Uranus are in Taurus. So I feel like these two planets being in Taurus, the house of money, wealth, banking, cryptos, land, beauty, agricultures, all of this stuff, I have a feeling that there's going to be, unlike everybody else, because I happen to listen to a few of my friends, they are like major astrologers, but their predictions are very dark, Brandon. And they're like, oh yeah, it's going to be this, maybe World War III and this or that. I don't feel that way. I just feel um, like all governments, from, doesn't matter, from US, from Europe, I think they're just going to start print out more money. And unlike the 2 3 years ago that we were all like so fear-based, there's lack of money, the economy is bad, the 1%, the darkness is trying to hold us down. I really feel the opposite way. I just feel like this year is going to be bright. And I feel like a lot of people, I mean, humanity, as you said, the energy of the earth is so much quicker and faster, so the manifestation is faster, people feel lighter and more bubblier. There, a lot of people are going to start to get that, like you were saying, that bang is going to happen, that bubble is going to burst, and a lot of people are going to just become awakened, like 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 Eckhart Tolle, or what happened to me. I wasn't after awakening, I wasn't a meditator. And all of a sudden, one day I had this profound experience and I woke up. And I feel like this will happen 2024 for a lot of people. As you said, that bubble would burst and people are just going to wake. But here's the funny thing, Brandon, is just like when we wake up and we move over that fear and those fear based, all the fear news that is going around, I feel like once we pass that, then all night, all needs about money, about luxury, those would automatically drop too, right?
100%.
Yeah.
To me, it's like if we go back to the context of what it means to be human, one thing that we can all agree on is we're in a constant state of learning. And if we can only learn through relationship, by getting reflection, by being able to see our own mind reflected back to us, and that reflection rate is quickening, then that's most likely reflecting back our capacity to learn and our capacity to change. And so as that's what exponential growth in any direction really is what came first? Did the reflection increase, or did we have a sense of expanding our sense of self that can now allow for a processing of information in a way that we've never really seen before? So it's like this increasing of complexity that's going to force people to evolve and adapt, or double down in denial and suffering, which is when Western medicine comes and just numb them out, drink, give them pills, because it will get that intense. And so I think it's so important for people like you and us and everyone watching here is to really live what we consider the new paradigm loudly. and share the good news. That really, it's like, who would you be without the thought that your circumstances can give you anything? Money can give you safety. All of these archaic beliefs that we've held on to, because that's really the gift. And so often we need to hit some sort of, not always, but we need to hit some sort of catastrophe, unfortunately for some people, to give up our deeply held religions that are keeping us, bound.
I mean, Brandon, imagine if there were a lot of people like me who were looking at life optimistically. They were so happy and joyful constantly, and they were like looking at the future so brightly. Some people call me, they're like, what are you so happy about? Happy. A few years back, Brandon, I was taking acting school, and every night when I would go to school, the whole crowd were around me because I was constantly happy, joking around and that stuff. And one night, my teacher, he was an older man. He was a very serious gentleman. He pulled me aside. His name was John. And he said, Sudi, I have a question from you. گفتم که, yes, John. He said, what are you on? I said, nothing, John. He was like, no, seriously, I'm really curious. I want to have what you have. What are you on? I said, I swear to God, I'm not on anything. So imagine if instead of hearing so many astrologers or so many people even in the awakening light, they're talking, their pages are about light, but when you listen to them, they are so down and everything is so dark, and if the future is going to be dark with this or this or that. So how about if we cultivate this positivity and happiness, and we start to go around telling everybody that is going to be beautiful? Don't you think it would that would also be a way of awakening or raising the humanity consciousness to a higher level?
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's genuine,
Yeah.
for people, then it's just physics. It's like you have to then get back, even if you're in a situation that other people say, oh, that's unfortunate, you're incapable of perceiving it that way. And so you're demonstrating more power, not necessarily by attracting things that people might consider successful, which you typically would when you're in that state. But even if you didn't, you would interpret it in a way that only reinforces your state of being. So you say, man, I'm so happy that this, this thing didn't happen, because I see it as a redirection or a lesson or whatever it might be. So you're showing them the circumstances really don't matter.
Yeah.
It's my response, my interpretation to it that matters, that then reinforces what's true for me. And it's that demonstration that would keep people from needing to look at all the astrology to see, okay, what events might sway me? And instead of looking for events to make you happy, you're doing the opposite, where eventually it's like, it doesn't really matter what shows up, because I'm really only in a battle with me and what I'm absolutely believing to be true and identifying with. And I do have the power to inquire and release that. And when that becomes the number one value eventually in our society, because it really is the only way to freedom, then it's like we could just relax.
And in a way, happiness, like anything else, is contagious. You cannot be around somebody who's happy and joking around and bubbly, and you start laughing after a while, like, what are you happy? But I think that's also so. Brandon, what is your goal and plan with the line that you're in right now? What is your goal to help your followers for the year 2024? Is there an agenda? Do you have any plans where you're going to take people?
Well, I'll start with the most general sense. Some, you could say, understanding or philosophy that I live by is to know yourself, be yourself, and then experience paradise. And so in that order, when that's a devotional way of being, then the way your life self-organizes, I can never tell someone what's best for them. I can never give someone advice. So through inquiry, we know ourselves. On the other side of inquiry, there's a birth of or an allowing of inspiration and passion. And that inspiration and passion shapes you into a puzzle piece that fits so perfectly into our society, into our world, that supports others, but is also supported by others and supports the whole all simultaneously. And it's so effortless, even though on the surface it might look like you're creating a bunch and you're moving and you're active, but you're not acting from urgency rooted in lack. You're acted from inspiration and in a place of, well, why not live this way and create? And so my work is just focused on bringing them through those stages and helping them understand what that means. And as a result, a paradise isn't found in a outcome, similar to in the Bible it says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all else will be given unto you. So it's like those first two stages are internal, but the side effect has to be a new way of responding and living in your life that is completely different from the old you. I mean, it's a total death when you embrace it. And so creating spaces where people that are really devoted to that can be confronted with the unconscious repressed layers that, especially in the spiritual community, can be easy to bypass. It's like, well, yeah, consciously, I believe and I know that I'm this, but let's see what your body says. And I've been using this tool called reverse inquiry, where it sounds like an affirmation, but it's just you say it to see if your body says no to it. And it's like using our bodies as lie detectors. And you can create situations and circumstances where people can say, for example, maybe they're sitting across from a man or woman, and you could say to themselves, I can say or do whatever I want to do right now, with you. And maybe their body just goes, no, I can't be, there's just a pulse that says no. And so we'll create circumstances and experiences to evoke what's been repressed. And then through that, disease heals, mental disease heals, and they return to where they started, which is just that open space of beingness and peace. And then from there, they have some way of paying it forward. And so, yeah, my excitement is to create community more in person this year around people that understand we either live that way, and people can use different words to point to the same natural way of living, or we suffer. And so the people doing the most courageous work to completely change their life, those are the people that I'm really excited to interact with and then to bring together. Because I really think when couples come together, and it doesn't always need to be a man and a woman that create offspring, but it could be business partners, it could be, but any coupling of people, even how we're coupling now, it's not, 2 times 2. It's 2 to the 8th power. It's an exponential ripple. And I think there's going to be communities built around couples that are embracing this new way of living that just magnetize communities. And I think it's going to really ripple out. And I want to be, kind of on the front line of that.
Yeah, I hear you. As you were talking, I was very present, listening everything that you were saying. And it just, for a second, I went back to a part of my retreat that, everybody was practicing silence and everybody was practicing my, the tool that I'm giving, thought caught silent, which is at the first word when you're hearing the thinking machine, which is separated from you, start talking, you just imagine that you have a golden scissor and you cut after it. There are many ways, we just don't mind the thoughts. Or my goal basically is to understanding that who is talking, who is feeling, who is experiencing everything is not their real self. So we were doing and practicing all this thing with different tools and methods and in 2 weeks. And it came to a part that I asked everybody. I said, well, when you say I'm committed to do something, and you say I am really committed to do whatever, what is missing in the part that you cannot keep your commitment? And then everybody randomly gave me like different answers. And then finally I said, I think the reason that we cannot keep up with our commitment is because the one who is supposed to be giving the real commitment is absent.
Mm-hmm.
So the one that's making all these desires and goals and plans and get excited for a couple of days and then work out for a few days and then it drops and then it says I'm going to be very productive, and they do it for a couple of days and then it drops. I said, isn't that the whole character? Isn't that the ego? So even the one who is giving the commitment is the ego. So until and unless we really learn to understand, when we say, who am I? The one who's responding, I am me, that's the false me and is not the real me, right? So I said, all these practices that I do, thought caught silence and different practices, it all brings us to the point that we realize that the one who's even writing the whole script, who has written the script, who is choosing, casting all these characters in my life, everything is the mind and ego. And until and unless I learn to separate myself, I can never meet the real me, the authentic me, higher self, my higher self, whatever we want to call it, who, if it's gets committed, then gets the job done. So what do you think, Brandon?
I love that so much. So I agree with you 100%. And so I would say then the purpose of the goal, being committed to a goal, is not necessarily achieving the goal. It's a shift in the state of being that you're experiencing now. So for example, when I hold something I'm excited about, what's happening now? I'm feeling excited and inspired. I would say excitement and inspiration happen on behalf of higher self, not on behalf of ego.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can use that vision to shift into what is natural for me now and out of ego, very practically. And that's the whole goal of the vision. Now I might continue to move in that direction. And like you said, the version or the projection of me, thoughts, emotions, sensing, action, that concoction of me is always changing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that version of me is always going to have different commitments and desires, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a diligence to return to, you could say, higher self, and the excitement continues to pull you in a direction, it's like saying, oh, life itself, God itself, wants me to, metaphorically speaking, wants me to move in this direction. You might appear to be the most committed person, but really you're just being yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the commitment. That's the primary commitment. And, or that can shift. And we've had probably stages in our life where the things that just brought us so much excitement and inspiration, one day we wake up and it's like, oh, I'm just not really excited about it. And it's not a choice we've made.
Mm-hmm.
It's a noticing. And so that's the primary commitment, is can I be so honest with myself that I'm devoted to acting from this more impersonal part of me that's just pulling me in a certain direction. There's just a gravity. And when I say yes to that, I'm living in harmony. When I'm saying no to that, I'm living in disease and ego. And that's really the primary commitment. Can I commit to living from that place instead of buying into the tricks of ego?
Yeah. And as Ramana talked about this, that if we look at the whole consciousness as a screen, that screen is always untouched. It doesn't matter what happened on the outer world. It doesn't touches the screen. The screen is just the screen and is untouched and is never changing or anything like that. But then again, I was saying, like, if we look at the I always get this picture, is the film in my head, Brandon, that you remember in the old days when you would go to the cinema, and then there was this guy who was sitting, the chairs were going like upward, and on top of that there was a room, and then there was this guy who was moving the film frame by frame by frame. And I said, you know that the guy that's up there and the film is the ego mind. And the ego mind is constantly making this movie, is sending it out to the screen, and then the projections come back to you, and then you think the movie is real out there, and the characters are real, and you believe that you have to be acting on in this movie. But what happens for me, Brandon, is that I can use the consciousness. I said awareness and consciousness is the energy, is always here. What is it that people don't get it? That you can choose awareness over unawareness, or you can choose the consciousness. That's a choice that we all have. And I said, if you realize that that guy, the ego mind, is making up this movie, you have two choices. When you become the screen, when you become the consciousness, you can just watch the movie. Don't get involved with it, don't get emotional about it, don't get the story that's real. Or the other part is, once you realize this and you know that the outer world is the Maya and is not real, you get connected to the other part. You get a particle from the wholeness. And in getting to that state, which requires you to understand the ego mind, and you are not the ego mind, once you move the other side, then you are connected to the whole universe, and the whole universe is like a full supermarket. Everything that you want is there, the Ferrari and the big house on the mountain and the villas in, I don't know, Austria or whatever. But the minute you get there and you see everything is available for you, maybe you're excited for a day or two, but knowing that everything is accessible to you every single day, it drops all of your desires. It's like, I'm so excited that I have a house viewing the ocean for how many days? Maybe 2 or 3 days. After 1 week, I don't even see it anymore, right? So this is what we get. If people could understand that, really learning to not to get the film as real as we think it is, if we learn to separate ourselves, the inner peace, the happiness, the joy, the undesiredness, everything is just there and everything is accessible. And thereafter, maybe you just say, okay, I know that universe has already made everything and accessible to me, but I still want to farm myself. And you also have that option to do things, but you don't worry about any things, because at the end there is no way for you to mess it up, right?
That's exactly it. And it reminded me of, because I think when you have had an experience and are living in the non-dual, way of being, or the Tao, whatever we want to call it, you can read scripture and interpret it totally differently. It's like you're on a different level, and you're getting a completely different information. And so it's like, when I obey and do God's will, I'm free. Even though it seems kind of like a paradox. I have to obey, I have to give up, I have to deny myself, I have to crucify myself on the cross. It's like all of these symbols are pointing to the depth of your desires. And ego thinks, then I'm not going to be happy, I'm not going to be fulfilled. I can't trust that if I just let it all go, everything I'm seeking is going to be within me, not even be within me, be me. And so I've been loving interpreting scripture almost through like a more of a mystical lens, where, okay, to do God's will is just me in a desireless, lowercase d, desireless place. It's not that you're you turn into a vegetable and you just
Right.
you just kind of, that's what people could think. It's that you're filled with a different kind of, we could say, desire, but it's more like you just want to extend what you're experiencing versus trying to extract what you feel you lack. So it's going from this, like, I need to extract it from the world and from money and from people, to actually the passion of the Christ is so alive in me that I just want to extend it. And I realize that which I extend, I am. So it's just this perfect cycle of self-fulfilling, we could say, excitement, passion, joy, whatever it might be. And to me, that is what prayer is actually meant to be. It's like being the living prayer, which is through demonstrating that which you, not asking God, give me something, give me money. It's like, actually, my prayer is to shift the perception, to stop believing that there's anything for me there, and to completely let it go, and then to receive everything I've been looking for. And in Christianity, they call that the Holy Ghost to move through you, because you will have a relaxation, something. It will affect the body typically when we have a non-dual experience. And again, I say it a lot. It's like, that's actually the easy part. Having an experience is the easy part. Living it, when ego says, no, I'm scared, protect, hold on to your resources. It's like living it and being so in the world, involved in the world, to demonstrate that understanding. That, to me, is the mastery. That's the work, the true work.
True.
Because we get tested often. Ego's relentless.
Brandon, I have a question from YouTube you want to answer. She said, is that mean money and wealth too?
In terms of?
When we learn to separate ourselves from the ego mind, then we enter the other part, the higher consciousness. Does that mean that we can have all the money and wealth that we want?
Completely. I mean, you can have, it's like, you can't find a reason to limit on any aspect of yourself. So when you think of yourself in terms of money, instead of finding a reason that it's dangerous, that you could make a bunch of money and lose it, all of this, like, gain and loss, even that duality is just fun. So you kind of ask yourself, we'll use gain and loss as the duality example that ego will offer. I can gain money, I could lose money. Who would you be without that? That there's any gain for you personally in receiving money, or there's any loss for you personally with losing money. Who would you be without both of those concepts that kind of keep you out of the center? And then in the center, it's like, oh, I wouldn't really mind it much. Well, that's how really integrated wealthy people are.
Yeah.
They don't really mind it. They don't need to tell you about all their money. Look, this is how much I made, or, oh, I'm so sad I lost. It's not, they're just focused on their passion and, what they're extending in the world. And then the money, if it's relevant for you, has to show up. And if it doesn't, it shows up in different ways, and you just don't really mind it anymore. And people from the outside will go, wow, you're so abundant. You don't worry about it. And it's not that you're efforting to not worry about it. It's that you fully went through the parts of the ego that convince you to worry about it, and you're no longer buying into the story. And that's the real work. That always comes before. You don't get that from money. You don't get the relief. No one feels relief when they make money from money. No one feels security when they make money. They feel safety and security because their ego says, okay, now that you have this, you can relax now. And it's that thought in that instant that causes them to relax back into awareness that is actually giving them the safety and the security. So the safety and security always comes from the same place. You, awareness, God, never from the world. And when that's fully understood, then yeah.
Brandon, how do you think we can make this for people to really get it, that we're always after something that's wrong? Like, maybe you can correct my sentence, but what I mean by that is, I mean, when you say, when am I going to have all that wealth and that stuff, how can we make it for people to grasp this, that is never the thing that you think you want, is the feeling that that thing is going to give you. And if you just make that feeling for yourself here inside, then that desire of having wealth and money, do you know what I'm saying? You can correct my sentence now.
No, that's great. I would say you have to experience it directly to really be convinced. So let's say money, it feels like the means to an end. Anything that's a means to an end comes from desperation, not from inspiration. So if there's expectation, I'm doing this to get fill in the blank. Anywhere that's alive, it's coming from ego.
Mm-hmm.
So look for, it's a means to an end. It's to get something I don't have. I expect some sort of result that then will give me, like you said, some sort of feeling. It's just about being vigilant when you start to act in that direction, because you'll feel it. You're going to feel excited. You'll feel drained. So pay attention. One exercise you could do that's very simple is write down all of what ego says, because in short, it's just where ego points to salvation, it's actually pointing to just more separation. So you have to write down, what do I think I will gain? Or what do I think this will help me lose or help me avoid losing if I were to gain X amount of money?
Yeah.
And see what ego says and just ask the question and just wait and just listen. I will gain safety. I will gain security. I will gain status. I will gain relevance. I will gain value. And just take a look at what ego's saying. I would actually write all of that down. And you spend time in meditation and in inquiry to see if those are facts of existence or just opinions that you've adopted. And as soon as you buy into them, you repeat the cycles of the past. And as soon as you see that holding on to those create the opposite of what you're looking for, they create lack, scarcity, and worry. As soon as you have your own revelation moment of like, wait, I get nothing from this but stress. It's not worth it. You don't let go of the thought. The thought releases you from its grasp and it self-liberates. So sometimes you do have to bring some awareness just to what's unconsciously there to see for yourself it's nonsense, because all of ego is nonsense and it actually doesn't make logical, consistent sense. So when you can see that, oh wait, that doesn't actually work. There's no point in that anymore. You'll release your investment in it, because believe it or not, if you're choosing it still, you actually believe you are getting something out of it.
Yeah.
No, it is giving me this. It is giving me that. That's what needs to be questioned. And then in the seeing of the truth, that which is untrue dissolves. And this is the truth shall set you free. And so that's an exercise you can all do in every area of your life. Partnership, a house, like whatever your ego is pointing to salvation. Look at what you think you're going to gain, what you think it's going to help you avoid, and see by believing that you're actually creating what you don't want over and over and over.
You know, Brandon, I do so many sessions every day, and a lot of them are about how to become wealthy, or people feel like they have a lot of blocks because they don't have money, or they lose their jobs, or they feel like money comes in but it just goes out. There's a hole. They have a hole in their money, energetic money areas. And I see that. Huh?
I said their money chakra.
Yeah. So when I get deep into this thing, I see that people connect so many things to money, right? Right or wrong. But what I see oftentimes is freedom. People connect money to freedom.
Yeah.
People connect money to having power to do what they want to do, buy what they want to do, or if they live with their parents or they're in a marriage that's not working out, they just feel that the issue is that they don't have money. And it's funny because when I say, okay, close your eyes, and just without any editing, just go and say everything that's connected to the money. You won't believe how many negative and positive thing comes up from that. And it's just like, oftentimes we find, I had this girl, she got like 6 sessions, private coaching session with me, and it was all about money. And she used to be very successful and building and making it, but she reached a point that nothing was working any longer. And when we went through this, she just came out with so many things. And when we got deeper into like semi trance or hypnosis, she just we just hit a part, a sensitive part in her childhood, that guys are always the one who deserve to have the better job, high paid job and that stuff. So although as a girl she achieved all these things and made money, but because the hidden subconscious mind that girls are not supposed to be so successful or to be the leaders or all of that stuff. So that's what I'm saying, Brandon. There are so many things that is connected in only the 5% of the conscious mind. And then there are so many negative things, fear based or other stuff. And then when we were getting deeper, I said, what does it mean to get on top? And she was saying, loneliness, then I'm going to lose. Imagine of all these negative things that is in her subconscious mind, right? So, but what I was saying basically is if you sit down and say, what are you connecting to money, and write down all of those things, and then ask yourself, is my freedom really connected to having money? Or freedom it's something that I can disconnect it from money and I can feel free right now, right?
Yeah. You remind me of a story too. It's such a good point that you're making, Sudi, is that I had this guy reach out and says, I grew up really poor, and so I need to fix my money stuff. And if I agree with him, yeah, you did grow up poor, and now we need to fix your money stuff, I'm solidifying a problem that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than questioning that he grew up poor, because if he's standing in front of me right now, he's had every need met for his entire life biologically. It's only the mind going, uh-oh, we should have more. Uh-oh, what if I'm not going to eat? Uh-oh, what if and it's going to past and future. And you're always going to be in a sense of lack if you're going to either from stress and fear. Mm-hmm. So for him, it wasn't, let me teach you how to make money or how to have wealth consciousness. It was, let's undo the belief that you need to achieve wealth consciousness by overcoming something that you can't control, this lack, scarce childhood. Let's question if that is actually a fact. Mm-hmm. So rather than creating time, where you have someone here and then you create a timeline, you go, okay, this is where we got to get you. Once you're here, that's going to be the solution to this problem. So you create a timeline of becoming, and becoming creates only more becoming. Mm-hmm. It's like the search for happiness just creates more searching. So once you create that timeline, you're keeping the story alive that, oh yeah, you're in scarcity because you're not there yet, rather than just questioning everything in the way of, wait a second, I'm in abundance now. Mm-hmm. Wait a second, I've never not been in abundance. Even if I've had an abundance of lack, of fear, of scarcity, that's abundance as well. It's just another form. But in terms of my needs, money, it's a fact that if you're alive right now, and I'd say even if you're dead, but that's a whole other conversation, dead, you've had more than enough. So it really is just this, oh, there's nothing for me to become. I already am being that which I want to become. So it's the collapsing of becoming into being, which just puts you right back into the now. And whatever you do from that place is to be wealth in motion, plenty in motion, because you're not holding yourself back anymore. You're not trying to become more wealthy. You are that. And that's a state of freedom, all these things that you're looking for. That's what you're actually looking for. So when someone really gets that, a lot can shift.
Nicely said. Well, Brandon, I can talk to you hours and hours. I always love to do join lives with you, but we're going to have to end this live. So at the end, my followers, if you haven't followed Brandon, please do so. And I'm sorry I couldn't respond or read the comments on YouTube, but next time we're going to be more engaged on YouTube too. So anyhow, Brandon, do you have any course, coaching session, anything that you're offering right now?
Yeah, in the next couple of days, I'm going to start doing these like psychosomatic diagnostic sessions where anyone with any symptoms, I'm going to help you identify what is going on in the unconscious mind, in your psychology and emotional body, and give you kind of a roadmap of how to resolve that on your own. And so I'm going to do 10 of those. Those are actually going to be free. There's going to be 30 minutes. This is the first time I'm offering that, so I'm really excited about that. Just one-on-one work right now. I have some retreat possibilities and some courses that I'm working on behind the scenes, but right now it's just one-on-one work.
Awesome. So don't forget, guys. Thank you, Lily, for following Brandon. And like you said, get a session with him. He's awesome. I love him. He's deep and he can help you guys out. If I didn't see you guys and you, Brandon, Merry Christmas. I'm wishing you and everyone else an amazing 2024. Like I said, I'm so excited about it. It's going to be bright and sunny and beautiful. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you so much. I see you very, very soon. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye. Thanks. Bye bye. Yes, I am sure. Goodbye, everybody.